Bill, maybe you can pick up on that. I mean, your company's in a unique situation of having studios not just in North Carolina, but also in Georgia, so your company can work with productions in different ways. Is this basically, our productions just go wherever the best incentives are at the time? Or do you see other differences there when you're working with clients?
Well, we decided to invest in Georgia. We're also in Charleston, South Carolina with our equipment business. 50% of the business that we do is the equipment, the lights, the truss, the cable, and so by going into Georgia, by being in Charleston, we're able to share these assets between these different cities based on where the films are going. So we just look at it as, all right, there's the city of Atlanta and the state of Georgia wanted someone to build studios there. They made it very enticing for us. And we've built what'll be 4 stages in addition to the 4 that were there. And we're building up our lighting grip business there. And again, trucks are going back and forth, working in that triangle every week.
Mm-hmm. Greg, do you see, how many years have you been here now continuously with One Tree Hill and Dawson's Creek?
15 with counting Dawson.
So he's been here 15 years. Is there a difference in terms of being able to be in one location? I don't know if there's any difference in the TV industry versus the movie industry.
Well, I think the difference in the TV industry is that you don't necessarily pick a place for an incentive package or in the overall. You'll pick it for an incentive package. You'll pick it for a place where you believe you have locations that can last for 187 episodes, like we're completing on One Tree Hill right now. And you look for a crew base that already exists in the area. So for me as a television producer, because our budgets are very small, to be able to bring crew in, house them, per diem them, cars, all that stuff, we can't afford to do that. So Wilmington has been a great place for us. And Dawson's Creek was Sony Television, and One Tree Hill is Warner Brothers Television, so it's not even like it's one company. It's from my standpoint, I've always been 2 different organizations who backed the area. They understood that there's a studio here where because as Bill knows, we've had 3 to 4 to 5 stages that we've used just for our television show for 15 years now, 15 television seasons. And so I think television is a little bit different, though quite frankly at the same time it still all works the same way. When I get a script now, it's like nobody ever thinks about shooting in Los Angeles unless the actor says you have to shoot in Los Angeles or I won't do the show. Everybody's looking for the best incentive they can find. Everybody's looking for a crew base. The irony is the southeast of this country, I think, is getting stronger than any place in the entire country right now because it's field of dreams. If you build it, they will come, and it's really the truth. If you build facilities and you have a good incentive package, as Tim said, the problem is crew will move to those places because you don't want to live somewhere and work the rest of your life someplace else. So I think what's interesting on my series right now is that we literally finished next Wednesday, a week from today. And it's funny because we did the first crew picture we've ever done in our lives yesterday, and there was like 250 people standing on the steps of one of our sets, and we had photographers taking pictures. And it makes you realize when you get everybody together, because you don't normally do that, how many people even a small production employs on a daily basis, plus the fact that in the room we were shutting the doors because we didn't think they were part of the show at the time. All the extras were in the back. We had 250 of those yesterday. So yesterday alone, we had almost 500 people on our set who were being employed by Warner Brothers Television. But you find with the people within our crew, I think it's starting to dawn on everyone that the 9-year run is over, and there's a good possibility that they may have to go someplace else to work because it's the nature of the business in a way. So it's kind of like we're happy to complete our show. It feels like an accomplishment. At the same time, it's very, very bittersweet because, as Tim says, Wilmington to me was a place I came to be on location in 1997, and now it's become home. Before that, I was on the road for 10 years. I haven't shot in Los Angeles since like the mid-'80s, and that's my home. So it's a different kind of business, and fortunately for this place, they have a great infrastructure and a studio that works well. So when you build it, they will come.
So Dan, how do independent productions? I mean, we've talked before about how obviously the crew base and the ability to do a lot of independent productions is based on what having a certain level of movie productions and TV productions that are here. But maybe you could kind of fill in how do the independent productions get going, and how does Cucaloris stay active based on what's happening with incentives and other productions coming through?
Yeah, well, Cucaloris is a really good example of the byproduct of the film industry. One of the side effects of the production activity that these guys are talking about is that you've got several hundred people who are creative professionals in many ways. You've got painters and carpenters and people working in the camera department, and whether you like it or not, in the film industry, once every couple of months or 6 months, if you're lucky, you're out of work. And so what happens when you have a community of several hundred creative people who are out of work every once in a while and they're well paid? It's a catalyst for a creative ecosystem. And so Cucaloris is a great example of that. The first 10 years of the film industry in North Carolina cultivated a very strong independent film movement, not just in Wilmington, but all over North Carolina. And so in 1994, when the first film festival was held, it was really because of the studio here, and there were some filmmakers who said, "Hey, we're making our own work when we're not working on big budget projects, and so let's start a film festival." And sort of now, 17 years later, Cucaloris sits in a slightly different position, sort of at the crossroads between two industries that are really important to our region, tourism and the film industry. We're probably the organization that's best positioned to take advantage of the notoriety of, say, a film like Blue Velvet that was shot in Wilmington 25 years ago. And so we're part of that sort of healthy ecosystem. When Iron Man 3 comes to town, the independent film community in Wilmington will become much more active. And so we always feel like the best thing that we can do for independent production and for indigenous production, for people who are making films that originate here in North Carolina, is to attract the big budgets that rent space at the studio and put these guys to work.
Let's take a question from the audience, table 23, Jonathan Weiss. We have a microphone over there.
Hello? If tax incentives are, it seems to be the crux that brings productions to Wilmington, what can we do? As I look around the room, it's a pretty influential group here. What can we do to help our legislators make up their minds about continuing or improving the tax credits?
And maybe somebody can start off by explaining what the current incentives are, and probably Aaron, you're best suited.
Sure. So our current tax incentive is a 25% refundable tax credit, meaning we'll give the state of North Carolina will give a production 25% of their qualified spend. Qualified spends are compensation and labor, goods and services, fringes, insurance, things like that. Money that's being spent in North Carolina and is being taxed, and it's running through our economy. We'll give, once their tax liability is met, we'll give 25% back in cash, up to $20 million per project. So that would be an $80 million North Carolina spend. That's the incentive. It's aggressive. I will tell you, it's not as aggressive as Georgia or Louisiana's. I think we created a smart incentive. We're leveraging not only our incentive, but we're leveraging what we have here, the incentives that are not talked about, and that's our people, and that's our infrastructure. That allows us to compete at 25% with the 30s and the 35%. And the 40% in Michigan, nobody knew that would be sustainable. It's not. It's kind of crumbling. They're trying to rework it right now. I guess what you can do to help this industry keep that incentive is talk to your legislators. I can tell you the Wilmington contingency down here, they get it, they understand it. Representative McComas has been a huge proponent of pushing this through and keeping it. Anytime there's an issue, we can call him, or one of his constituents can call him, and he gets things taken care of. It's great to have a leader like that in the General Assembly.
A couple of the other challenges that we organized a grassroots effort to help pass the incentives legislation that's in place now. And what we heard from a lot of people was a misconception that the incentives went into the pocket of people like John Travolta. And that was what this was for. And the reality is that it goes into the 500 people who are cleaning the studios, driving the trucks, a number of very, very ground level jobs. And then the second thing that we found really challenging was talking to legislators from rural areas who say, look, my constituency are cotton and peanut and soybean farmers. Why am I going to vote for this legislation that's only going to impact, a couple of bigger cities in North Carolina? And so, of course, we went to Aaron and to Johnny Griffin and, said, heck, can we get some figures on how many counties are impacted and how this money spreads all over the state? And so continuing that message is going to be very helpful because it has to come from the entire legislature, has to support it for us to be successful and to continue to have the incentives that make us competitive.
It was pretty impressive that grassroots effort Dan's talking about. He got, I don't know, a couple hundred of his friends. They cut out these pictures of people, faceless people, and put names on them. I'm working in Georgia. I'm North Carolina. I'm working in Louisiana. All over, about 200 or 300 of these. And outside the mall between the General Assembly, they stuck them in the ground. So when legislators looked out their windows, that's what they saw. And we had a big rally. Everybody on this panel and a lot of people in this room are responsible for the incentive. Before I was here, Tim, I heard, got the whole industry in a gymnasium down here and told them to get their acts together, and this is what they have to do. Greg came here when there was no incentive, and he could have easily left. He chose to stay, and because of that, we had North Carolina think quick about how do we keep people like Greg in town. We need to build an incentive, and certainly Screen Gems. They believe so much in North Carolina. In a down economy, they decide to build the world's largest stage. That's a dumb idea, but they have confidence in North Carolina, and their dumb idea was now the most brilliant thing their company's probably done in so many years. So it's.
Got memories? Get DVDs. Tapes won't last forever. Digital transfers will. Do it today, so you'll have your memories tomorrow. Call us at 399-1820 or online at myrealvideo.com. Mold and time ruin videotapes. Tapes won't last forever. Digital transfers will. Do it today, so you'll have your memories tomorrow. Call us at 399-1820 or online at myrealvideo.com.